I remember being interviewed with the sleazy landlord. He basically just wanted to know if I had a boyfriend.
First interview, I was to work in a cafe.
I was asked what I did to help stress levels at work, and I said I sing.
You got an erection
Well,
during the interview.
I mean, I wouldn't say a full-on erection,
Just
but
a
You got turned on in an interview. The idea I had was an interviewer, a female, but when she's interviewing other females, she's really bitchy.
I think it would be great if you got Stuart Rose, who was the former CEO of Marks and Spencer, to go do an interview. And every time he presents his CV, for instance, the interviewer would be like, "It's not just any CV. This is some M&S CV," and they just carry it on and on and on.
Yeah.
If they're asked how they would fight a fire, they could say, "I fight fire with fire."
Wannabes joining the army. You know, these guys who play on computer games. He normally plays a game. So just before he does a test, he goes, "Hang on a minute, I'm just going to put my headphones on."
Mum in the background saying, "Are you finished on that level yet? Dinner's ready."
Welcome to The Lobbyists, an original comedy podcast from 2015. On set are Alex Jones,
Mary Quirke,
Sarah Polley
Anna Seaman.
The topic for today's show is interviews. Thank you very much for listening. What's the worst interview you guys have had?
Oh,
Go on,
I was
Anna.
just going to say, I remember being interviewed to get my house that I lived in Victoria with the sleazy landlord. And that basically just involved him asking me if I was single.
Oh, really?
Vulnerable.
That makes you feel very vulnerable.
Finding out that I was alone in this country.
Interestingly, this comes up quite a lot in the interviews techniques. So the things you're not meant to do. You're not meant to make people feel vulnerable or insecure in an interview.
Yeah, he basically just wanted to know if I had a boyfriend.
If you had a boyfriend.
When I said I didn't, I got the room.
Yeah.
And he gave me it at a discount price.
Oh, really?
And I really should have seen the writing on the wall at that point in time.
In return for something else, perhaps?
Certainly. And then he actually ended up walking me all the way down the street to the tube.
That's creepy. That is creepy.
And at that point, I probably should have been scared. But no, I took the room because it was really cheap.
Yeah.
Right.
Were there any pictures on the walls with moving eyes in it? Or any Mona Lisas just randomly around the room? Or just, you know?
Well, every time I was in the bathroom, I literally was just thinking, go ahead, just enjoy it, Adil, because,
enjoy the deal.
You probably do have cameras in here, so, and then...
Gee, you must have been.
And then when I was going to the toilet, I was just thinking, I wonder if he's enjoying this. Pretty horrible.
Yeah, take that.
So you were thinking, is he watching?
Sexy. This isn't sexy at all.
You'd be like, catch that one.
So did you end up feeling you were a bit like one of those housemates in Big Brother, where they sort of they wash in swimming costumes and things like that?
Oh yeah, except I didn't go that far, but I definitely was thinking every time I had to take my clothes off, I was thinking, okay, enjoy it, have a good look, Adil, go ahead, I know you are.
No, I mean,
it was really funny.
I just wonder where the cameras might have been though. Were they built into the recess of the bathroom floor, or? Oh,
there were all sorts of weird cupboards and
really?
cracks and stuff. Yeah, that they could have been in. But I just remember this one time I got home. There was 3 of us living there. Me and this other girl, Emma, and then this other girl, Farah, came in the mirror. It obviously missed it over because someone had a hot shower. And he must have been in there because he was always letting himself in. And he'd written the hotties of number 25B because that was the name of the house. That was the number of the house. And he'd written Anna, Emma, and Farah, whose kisses and smiley faces in the mirror. And I was like,
oh no.
The camera was behind the mirror.
I reckon. I was just like, oh yeah.
I just think I would have been showering with my nightie on.
Yeah.
Maybe a hat as well. I don't know.
Yeah. I mean, have you looked on any kind of websites to see if you're up there or not?
I should Google Anna, Emma, Farah, hotties of 25.
I think you ought to. Yeah.
I was thinking you do look a bit familiar.
Oh shit.
I don't know what you mean, Mary, but anyway, Sarah, what was your worst interview?
First actual interview, that was to work in a cafe,
wow.
I believe. I don't remember the interview themselves, but they should have probably asked if I could make coffee, which I can't.
Right.
That was probably the one question they should have asked, but didn't. No, I couldn't make coffee.
To work at this cafe, and it was this really dodgy guy who was
this
half
back home?
Yeah. He was half Italian, half Persian. He was actually really funny. Anyway, basically, I turned up to the cafe. The interview basically just consisted of him finding out if I would just entertain him and just tell him stories and talk shit and just tell him gossip about the bookshop across the lane. I did absolutely no work. He wouldn't let me go near the coffee machine.
Right.
And then this one day, a health inspector came in, and my job was basically the only role I ever had to perform was to keep him distracted while Mookroom went round just killing whole families of cockroaches.
Enveloping theme developing here, Anna, which involves dodgy men, and you attracting them.
Shit. Oh dear.
Mary, what about you? Have you had any dodgy interviews?
I haven't had many dodgy interviews. There's one that sort of comes to mind where I was asked what I did to, help stress levels at work, and I said I sing. I just first thing off the top of my head.
Stress lovers.
You sing. Did you get the job?
I didn't know.
No, fair enough.
No, I didn't.
Stress levels.
I thought you said stress lovers. I was like, what?
No, definitely stress lovers. Yeah.
No,
it's all about stress lovers.
That's your kind of job.
That's the perfect interview question. Yeah.
What kind of job is that?
Stress lovers. I love stress. I don't know about you. What job was it for?
It's working in a hospital.
From private hospital.
Yeah, so I guess singing around people to relieve my stress probably wasn't going to be, I just said, visions of me doing like Julie Andrews,
Julie Andrews, yeah.
The Hills Are Alive, just as they.
The Hills Are Alive with Mary Quirke. Yeah. Okay. Well, I mean, my first interview pretty much was for a cafe as well. Yeah, it was my first ever job working with J Lines, and all they asked me was, "What are you prepared to work for in terms of an hourly rate?" Because didn't have minimum wage back in those days. Because I'm ancient.
So they wanted to see how far they could exploit you.
Basically, yeah. That was the only thing they seemed concerned about.
How much will you take?
Yeah, I said, well, I want a minimum of £5 an hour.
£5?
Yeah, £5 an hour, and they said we can only pay you £4. I said done.
Did you do for £5 an hour?
I did everything. I literally.
What didn't I do?
What did I do? No, it wasn't that bad. It was working in an airport, so it wasn't that good. But the highlight. No, just in the cafe. J Lines. The highlight was meeting Paul Daniels and his wife and his beautiful wife Debbie.
The magician.
Yeah, the magician. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, not that cool. I towered over him, and his wife was about 2 foot taller than him.
Alex, I like him.
He's nice though, isn't he? He was a nice guy.
I worked in an airport too, because that was where my first job was, a cafe in Luton Airport.
Hey,
and we used to
Luton Airport.
Finding so much out about each other.
Airport.
I know.
And a cafe, another
used to meet a lot of famous people there
massage
too.
lady.
I'm not hard fiving.
I remember one of my colleagues, she met Sean Connery, but she didn't recognise him at first. And someone said to her, that's Sean Connery. And she said, well, hang on, who's Sean Connery? And they said, James Bond. And she said, oh my God, are you James Bond? He said, oh, I used to be, yeah.
So, tell me, guys, what would be, if you could be in a, other than obviously being effectively sexually exploited in an interview, effectively molested with a guy's eyes, what's your worst possible scenario for an interview apart from that? Apart from being sexually harassed, because obviously I'm definitely in the minority here. Everyone, I should say, there's 3 women and 1 guy, and I'm feeling a little bit. I should stick up for the guys a little bit. Here. Not everyone's like
danger,
this.
Like feeling like actually scared that you're going to get attacked by the interviewer.
Okay,
could be bad. Like maybe in a prison.
Yeah. Okay.
If you're going for a prison job.
Going for a prison job, that's an interesting one.
I think for me it would be if the interviewer had a huge dark mole on the end of their nose.
Yeah, that could be quite worrying.
I wouldn't be able to take. No, the mole on the tip of the nose would do it for me.
Yeah.
There's a tip that people always say for interviews as well, where they say if you feel nervous, just imagine your interviewer naked.
Yeah, that's worse.
But there's always a fear that if you do that, you might be physically sick if they're a little bit, minging.
A little bit minging,
yeah.
yeah.
You might get turned on if you're a man.
You might get. Well, I have actually got turned on before in an interview. I have to say, yeah.
Did you do this?
Seriously, yeah.
What happened?
You got turned on in an interview.
Yeah, I imagine her naked. I'm sorry. I'm a heterosexual guy.
You got an erection.
I wouldn't say a full-on erection, but I probably a semi. Yeah, definitely. Thanks, Sarah. Thanks for bailing me out there.
That is so
on the spot.
funny.
I couldn't think what it was. I mean,
were there any cushions available? Or?
Well, I luckily had a handy
jacket?
folder to hand, which I
A4, A5,
A4, which I positioned rather intensely over my crotch, and I was very glad actually when the interview came to an end, and luckily it had gone down by then.
I'm going off you, Alex.
I'm sorry. Look, you asked the question. I'm being honest here.
We all excuse ourselves. We're like, we're going to have to go actually.
Look, it was. I don't know how justified it was.
I want to hear more about this interview.
Men do occasionally get erections without
I remember
planning
this
them.
colleague of mine at work, so he was a prosecutor.
I mean, I wasn't, chatting up the lady or anything. I was
just,
just, I just can't help but say that's what actually happened.
Did she know? Did she notice the tent effect of the A4?
I think
folder?
I think the thing is, if a man does go that way, the kind of whole body stiffens as well. So she might have noticed it. No, I don't know.
What did you do? How did you?
I started just thinking of people I didn't fancy, basically, and
Dead
I ended
relatives?
I would never think of dead relatives, but thanks for that insight into your character there.
That's what people,
Anna,
that's what people train us to think about if we're in court and we start laughing during a trial. Yeah, you
think of
start
dead relatives. Oh, interesting.
To drop the smile, drop the laughter.
Yeah.
That's an interesting
dead pets.
perspective.
That would always get me going. The dead relatives not so much, but I think the pets,
Same for
I'll have
me.
to remember
yeah.
that one next time. Dead
you
relatives.
think about your dead rellies and you just start laughing more.
Yeah, but the pets would really just do me in. Just the lump would come up, a bit like Alex, really.
Yeah, no, look, it only happened once, and I was 17, so I think I'm allowed to get away with it. I was in my teens, and this lady was it was for interview for university as well. It wasn't like a job interview.
Yeah, I mean, you're just trying to, dress it up.
Does that happen the other way round? I mean, with women, do you get kind of,
I'm just thinking as
sexually attracted to the interviewer because they're in a position of power or something like that?
I've been distracted before. Definitely forgot to ask.
So maybe I should
things that were
have
actually
chosen
relevant.
those words. Yes, I got distracted. Then I wouldn't have been interrogated.
Officer.
Instead of admitting that you had a semi-erect.
I just think maybe, in future, Alex, just in case it happens again, you should always bring a folder.
Maybe
Bring a folder.
Maybe you
Yeah.
should tie your dick down so it can't move.
Tie your dick down.
Tie your dick down,
Maybe
bro.
you should strap it down.
Strap it down. Unfortunately, he wouldn't need much to strap it down. Let's put it that way. But I think it would be, it wouldn't need a lot.
Just get a hinge for it or something, Just
Yeah, maybe just a little bit of sellotape. That'd be enough. I think. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's not like I can't claim it to be the biggest in the world, but hey. So if we were going to write a sitcom, right, about an interview, let's run through some ideas.
I have a scenario. So this happens to me sometimes. So there'll be me and a couple of other people interviewing somebody, and I'll have a list of questions, and then they'll also have a list of questions. But what bothers me is when we have the same questions, and they ask those questions before I have a chance to ask them, and then they've asked
annoying.
all the questions that I was going to ask,
Yeah.
and then it gets to me, and they say,
Yep.
Sarah, have you got any questions you'd like to ask this candidate? And I can't think of anything else
it's
because
great
they've already
for now.
asked it. So
Awkward.
then you just end up
Awkward.
saying, so do you like stuff?
Yeah. Do you like
Yes.
things? Do you like doing things outside work?
Yeah.
Yeah, do you have any hobbies and interests? And sometimes they just say no, and then you're like, of course you don't have hobbies and interests. You have an actual life instead.
Yeah, that's an
Actually,
awkward one.
interviews can be quite awkward when they ask you questions and you just are stumped and you don't have anything to say. And
Yeah.
it's just like tumbleweed,
Yeah.
just silent.
Yeah.
And everyone's sitting there going,
Yeah.
It can be quite awkward. It's actually
Yeah,
quite
I think
I
the worst for me is when, sorry Maria, the worst for me is when I've actually prepared questions that I want to ask them and they say, have you got any questions? And I go, no, I did have some prepared ones, and it just, funnily enough, they don't offer you the job. Really strangely, they don't offer you a job because you haven't got, good enough memory capacity.
What I was going to say was that if I forget what I'm going to say, I start getting defensive, and I get quite sarcastic, and it comes out as I'm quite mean, which I'm obviously not. So that doesn't go down well either. 'Cause I get so nervous. I'm quite
So if you, what do we all think about the dreaded?
holes in their interviewing techniques. It's really not
I've
very
done that
cool.
before. You really shouldn't have asked me that question, because at the end of the day,
Anyone ever got so nervous about an interview they've got drunk beforehand?
I've done it before a date. Yeah.
in a way, a date
Because you were
is
going on a date.
In a way, a date is a bit like an interview, isn't it?
Yeah,
so,
it is.
I mean,
It is,
if we were
yeah.
writing a sitcom, could we kind of structure it so that, or a sketch? So, could we structure it so almost like a date? I mean, you've touched on it a couple of times already. You've actually got experience of that, Anna.
Yeah.
Mary,
I've had some.
you
pretty
must have some experience of it.
awkward
I've not
dates,
actually got any experience of it, apart from obviously getting an erection. And then, have you got any experience of that? Because I mean, that could be quite an interesting angle.
I've not been drunk in an interview, no. Sometimes I've wished I'd been pissed at my face.
Yeah.
But no, just leads on to what I mentioned earlier. Interviews are the only time I drink water because I don't really like water. It doesn't taste of anything. But then when they offer you a drink, the only thing I'll say is water because really I wouldn't mind a cup of tea maybe. But but then they ask if you want milk and sugar, and I'm one of these people that has half a sugar, and you can't really ask half a sugar because you look like a fussy cow.
You just wasted people's time.
Exactly.
Really,
so I don't feel comfortable asking for a cup of tea, and I don't drink coffee either, so I can't ask for coffee. Really, I just want a strawberry daiquiri, but I don't think they'll be willing to stretch to that. So I just go with water.
That's just not on the trolley, is it?
No.
Yeah.
If you think about it, getting someone drunk for an interview would be a perfect way of interviewing people, because you get to...
Truth comes out when you're drunk.
No, because you actually get to know what they're really like.
The idea I had was an interviewer, a female, but when she's interviewing other females, she's really bitchy.
Right,
she starts making really underhanded remarks.
So this is what we want. Yeah, we want original stuff here. Yeah.
Undermining.
By the book.
Yeah, just make as if you're not nervous enough. She's making sly little digs about your clothes. It's I thought it was quite cold out there today. That's but if you want to wear a skirt like that, that's fine. if you've got the legs for it. It says lots of things under her breath, so you don't, and she doesn't quite finish them, which is really annoying. And so you're left thinking, did she just say that about me? Or it's like,
I think one good idea could be someone goes through an interview and they ask if they have any previous convictions, and they admit to that they have a previous conviction for theft, but they say it was a very long time ago, circumstances were different then, and the interviewer seems to be quite understanding and is willing to let it go. And then once the interviewer's back's turned to go and pick something up or close a window, the interviewer then nicks their stapler. Yeah. And then but the interviewer doesn't notice at first, and then when they turn around again to get something, they nick their notebook, and then the next time they nick their coffee.
That's brilliant.
All down their pants.
Yeah, and it just escalates and escalates. More and more stuff goes missing, and then
good work. Yeah.
And then when the interviewer leaves the room, only then the interviewer then actually notices, where the fuck's my coffee and my laptop and my stapler and half my desk?
Yeah, they were willing to give him another chance, but
yeah,
that's a great idea.
I think university interviews would be quite interesting, because there's a lot of talk these days about how university students really mollycoddled and all this kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I think it would be a good idea to do a university interview where the kid has proper helicopter parents.
Okay.
That style parenting, and the parents insist on coming along. They insist on everything. They want to make sure they stay with him for the first week to make sure he's settled in and fresh as week. And they won't let him answer any of the questions the interviewer asks him. They'll do it all for him because they just cannot let him go.
Hey, what about a sketch around interviewing housemates?
Interviewing housemates,
that's a good one. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, housemates in general. I mean, it's an awkward situation, isn't it? Because obviously there's a situation of power, isn't there? They've got a room.
The existing housemate.
The existing housemate has that power and control about who to let in. So you could have an almost slightly sadistic kind of power trip test thing. Can you run down the bottom of the garden back in 10 seconds? Come on, off you go.
Make us something to eat,
I don't know. There's all kinds of things. Abusing the power, complete power.
There could be someone who asks the person being interviewed if they like dogs because they've got a dog, and they'll say, yeah, I love dogs, I'd love to meet your dog, and then they bring out a cuddly toy dog and they say, this is my dog, it's important that you love my dog and get on with him, because he's part of the household too.
And then compare and contrasting, that's another one. So when you kind of say, oh yeah, you seem nice, but compared to the last guy who came in, who was much better than you,
that sort of thing. Yeah.
But I mean, and just to twist it on its head, I mean, what about interviews for a reality show where there's producers, for Big Brother almost, for producers who are basically, all they want to do is fuck with these guys.
They want good TV.
On set, they want good TV, so they're going to twist these guys as much as they can.
Yeah, because they always claim they do a psychiatric assessment of them beforehand to make sure they're mentally well enough to go in the house. But blatantly that some of them are not mentally well enough to go in the house. So their interview could be like, do you feel mentally well to go in the house? Yeah. Okay, great. That's their psychiatric assessment.
Yeah, I mean, you'd love to meet the psychiatrist, wouldn't you?
Yeah, who actually
employed
put
by
these
the NHS,
people in.
Unlikely.
Yeah. A celebrity psychiatrist.
He's got nice teeth. And I wonder with Jeremy Kyle is, before the contestants go onto the stage, do they actually get their faces and bash them into a wall? Because none of them have any teeth. Is that what they do? Why have they got no teeth? Is it a prerequisite for the?
And you said you're not a comedian. Come on.
Pretty much, yeah. Although sometimes they do surprise you and have a pretty person on there, but it only happens once in a blue moon.
They're going for people that have got these extremely traumatic lives and
Yes.
dysfunctional stuff going on, and quite often that goes hand in hand with not having teeth.
It's a dentist delight, isn't it?
Is that a prerequisite, having
It must
no
be the
teeth?
dentist somewhere.
Working as a prosecutor, a lot
I
of
was
the people
glad you said
that were
prosecutor.
So did I. Where's this girl going?
Prosecutor, yeah.
When I worked just
when I was a prostitute, my God, the interview for that one.
the money I made.
But I remember like most of the people that came through court, there was a pattern. Ideas for the hairdresser.
Yeah, I like the hairdresser
Go
one.
through some of those ideas.
Interviewing for a hairdresser, right?
Yeah,
Okay,
so
this
like
could be
the
another
people-
scenario.
Yes,
Let's do it.
So we've got the actual hairdresser who's taking on a new apprentice. The hairdresser could be jealous of like anyone who's got long hair.
Yay! And she's
Yeah,
got
I've
time.
experienced
I
this.
think that was you were talking about that, weren't you, Mary? So that's kind of
Hacking it off.
hacking everyone's hair off.
Yeah, doesn't like ladies.
And even when
with-
customers came in, they could be saying, "Oh, there's a £200 surcharge for long hair that's below shoulder blade length."
Yeah.
Let's take it off.
And like the bitchy passive
Yeah.
aggressive comments.
Yeah.
Yeah. So the kind of
Just running the person down, being like, "Oh, this is full of split ends.
Yeah.
This is basically 75% split ends.
Yeah.
You'll have to all come
you'll
off."
have to all come
That's
off.
the hairdresser.
Yeah.
That's the hairdresser. So in terms of interviewing someone for a job,
okay.
how would we get around that? Is she interviewing someone who's someone just like her?
Got an eye that floats off. You know, one of those ones you always think they're getting up to leave. You know, one of those.
Doesn't give the customers much confidence. That
Yeah,
the
no
eyes
eye
are
contact.
Does a
firmly
really
on
crooked
the-
car,
Yeah.
and when the
Because-
customer complains, says, "Well, looks fine to me."
Yeah. Because you're looking at the back of the head and like one eye's there and the other's gone to the over to the coffee machine. You know, and it's like.
So when they're what in the mirror? Kind of. Oh my god.
I like the idea of a hairdresser with a tick as well. It's
Funny during an interview if the interviewee had a really
Yes,
funny
the interviewee had a tick.
Yeah.
That
I
would be brilliant. Yeah, a little mini roar.
I've actually got a friend, my friend's boyfriend. When he gets nervous, he does little winks, and
Does
it's all
it
like
wink?
winks at you.
Are you sure it's your friend's boyfriend?
No, he does. Like, whenever he gets nervous, he sort of like does his little tick wink things.
Does a wink. The interviewer would be kind of going like, "So, are you? Is there a? You realise this is a normal job, but we do expect you to do extra stuff," and then wink. Kind of like.
Yeah, the wink comes in.
The wink comes
Yeah.
in. Do extra stuff. Wink.
Definitely.
But with the Tourette's, so the Tourette's could be something like a really serious question. So, sort of, why do you want this job? Why do you think it's the best? And they go, "Oh well, because I fucking am."
That could be with a hairdresser as well. Like fucking hair. Just they're cutting the back of it. What the fuck is hair?
I wonder if we subverted that. So we had the interviewer actually interviewing a new hairdresser on the shop floor, but the other hairdresser in the background who has Tourette's. So all they hear is fuck, 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 fuck. It's nervous enough when you're being
Each
interviewed.
snip, yeah.
Each snip, fuck, fuck. Kind of like that. So how about, instead of someone who's bigging themselves up, maybe someone who actually was, shall we say, a CEO of a big company, a recognisable name, someone like, I don't know, Richard Branson, who loses all his money and then basically has to go and work at Greg's.
I think Stuart Rose
Ends up
would be
interviewing
good.
people.
I like that.
I think it would be great if you got Stuart Rose, who was the former CEO of Marks and
Spencer's.
to go do an interview. And every time he presents his CV, for instance, the interviewer would be like, "It's not just any CV. This is some
This is a
M&S
good idea."
CV," and they just carry it on and on and on.
Yeah.
Like every time he talks about his previous experience, they'll be like, "This isn't just any previous experience. This is M&S previous experience," and it just goes on and on and on and on.
Be like, these aren't just any old Nick, these are M&S. You know,
It just-
balls up my
just
pair of pants, yeah, I think that would work.
And this isn't just
Yeah.
any old pizza we've had delivered for lunch.
Yeah, this is
This
M&S.
is M&S pizza. Actually, no, fuck it, it's Domino's, but still.
Or kind of, this is not going to be any answer to the question. This is going to be an M&S answer to the
Yes.
question. Yeah, that's a great one. That's a great one. And what about? I mean, the other thing is, I'll be talking about famous people. That's actually one of the subjects I was going to bring up. Is kind of business. Like, you know, when you get to the end of The Apprentice, when you get kind of that guy Claude, and he does that really horrible interview at the end. Claude, just picking apart the CV.
Do you know what? Claude is scary because he looks like that guy from Hellraiser. I realised that when last time I was watching Apprentice. I was like, why is Claude scary? Pinhead. It's fucking Pinhead.
Maybe if we had someone like a super interviewer, how about having someone like Claude interviewing for a really junior position, kind of like
working his way up,
shop floor assistant.
I've got a subject that we could play around with. Firefighter getting interviewed.
A firefighter.
Firefighter. So what is
firefighter? Well, my grandfather was actually a fireman in the Second World War. I know a little bit about it. Can't say I was an expert though, but I would imagine health and safety plays a massive role these days. So, are you saying
someone who's a bit too obsessed with health and safety?
That could be an
but
interesting
so
one,
obsessed they will not go anywhere near a fire because of health and safety.
Fire? Me? I don't go near fires. What are you talking about? Maybe they think they're being interviewed for a something else fighter. Do you know what? Cage fighter.
They think it's a fire lighter. They think
a fire lighter.
Lighting fires.
Yeah, lighting fires. A pyromaniac.
They've got it wrong.
Yeah, they got it wrong.
They realise that you're here to, light some fires. You're a fire lighter.
You're a fire lighter. Brilliant. Or the opposite way around, a firefighter being someone thinking.
Or if they're asked how they would fight a fire, they could say, I fight fire with fire. And they say, no, that's the wrong answer.
You're fired.
You're fired. Yeah.
Oh my god.
Thanks for coming.
I was just imagining that someone turning up for a cage fighter job, they get the wrong place.
A cage fighter, like a pole dancing club.
That could be a sketch, couldn't it? It could be people turning up for mishearing what the title is.
Mishearing what the title is, yeah.
Yeah, getting it wrong and turning up in all the costume and everything. And they didn't have much of an interview. They didn't listen properly.
But so basically, right? So they're going in as they interview as a cage fighter. It was a firefighter. We'll go with that in a minute.
Just turns on his little ghetto blaster, puts on his sexy music, and just starts taking all his clothes off.
Yeah. What was the music in the background?
And what is the job?
What was the job? Cage dancer. So we could come up with another scenario for that. Wouldn't a dog handler be better, or something like that? So someone who looks after cages in a zoo, who's a cage handler or something like that. And they instead they come up as a cage fighter. They think it's a cage fighting job. They can't understand why there's a zebra in the corner.
Or a big pink elephant.
Or a big pink elephant, yeah.
What about pole dancing? What would be sort of similar to that? So pole
fireman.
dancing. Yeah.
I mean, a fireman they got that massive pole, haven't they?
How about a woman going for a pole dancing and she's just desperate for a job and she's desperate for money and she's actually quite a fat older lady. She just needs work, so she doesn't care, but she's not what they were looking for at all.
And how do they get her out of the room without
How the hell they get her out
feelings?
without feeling hurting her feelings? Yeah.
You're lovely and we were looking for
curvy. And she has to try and get creative on the pole.
See, there's a massive bend in the pole. It used to be straight, and then it's slanted now because she leaned on it.
She's lowered herself down.
Yeah, that could be quite interesting. Yeah, that could be quite an interesting one. I like that.
She makes up some really interesting moves, but also while she's doing them, it helps her arthritis. So she'll do certain stretches. So it's like a 2-in-1 thing. So she's helping her back, her scoliosis.
So you actually hear her going, oh, that's better. Oh wow. Right, so any other interview topics we army I thought about.
A lot of potential.
A lot of potential for the army. So
odd people.
Yeah, basically.
People joining the army.
Well, more kind of like I don't know, kind of wannabes joining the army. These guys who play on computer games all day long, thinking they're a member of the SAS or something like that, and then actually going along for an interview at the army because the game they got to the top level on Call of Duty that they can now become a soldier.
They've watched Apocalypse
They've watched Apocalypse Now a couple of times. That kind of thing. I don't know. What do you think?
And then it turns out that they're so actually weak and feeble they can't even hold a gun. It's too heavy for them.
Or the opposite extreme, fat and wobbly. They can't even. Bad shoulder.
The person doing the interview's got a rope and then they're climb that in 2 minutes and they can't even go
They can't even. Yeah, exactly.
There could be a really deluded person who's actually quite fat, but he doesn't see himself as fat. He sees himself as big built, like it's muscle.
Exactly.
But it's actually all fat.
You got it.
Delusional. And you get like rope burns between his legs when he's coming down the rope, and he's like.
I mean, I did actually think along those lines. Is obviously he normally plays a game, but it's say an online game. So he says, so just before he does the test, he goes, hang on a minute, I'm just going to put my headphones on. Put my headphones on and my kind of microphone. Right, guys, let's go for this. And then like as if he's playing a game.
The soundtrack in the background to do it.
Yeah, kind of. Yeah. He needs his games controller. No,
and it's his mum in the background saying, "Are you finished on that level yet? Dinner's ready."
I'm going to war.
You're going to war, so that could be an issue, or as a helicopter pilot, or a fighter pilot, or whatever, you know. But some bloke who's completely unsuited to being a
Delusional.
soldier. Pretty much exhausted, haven't we? I think.
Have a break.
Yeah.
Sarah's having a piss. Yeah.
Okay, that's a good idea.
The Lobbyists is an original comedy podcast performed by me, Alex Jones,
Mary Quirke,
Sarah Polley,
and Anna Seaman.
The idea was created and produced by Alex Jones. Thank you very much for listening. Copyright The Lobbyists 2015.
all rights reserved.